Hey, look, there were some tech issues last time, and you can't really blame me for that. This was Streamlabs' fault. But hey, look, we're back. Welcome to Cult EXE. We're a channel here at Plus One EXP. I'm Keegan EXE, the content necromancer and a cult leader here at Plus One.
And I'm Sarah, your stepdad, and the other cult leader.
Oh wow, we got a different intro from you this time, which is sad because they didn't hear it the first time.
I just didn't feel like being snarky. I'll save it for later.
Okay, cool. Plus One's a weird little brand that multi-classes in tabletop game design, beard and skincare, alchemy, and the Bardic College of Content Creation. The dream and hope here at Plus One's to help amazing designers find great players who love their games and help amazing players find great designers whose games they can love.
Today you're joining us for Character Study, a cult classic where we sit down with folks all across the TTRPG space to learn more about their character and the systems they love and who they are out of game. We're taking audience questions, so feel free to chime in as we move along. Our guest today is Aaron King. Aaron King is a pet sitter, zinester, and indie game design powerhouse. You can find them co-hosting RTFM, an RPG book club podcast along Maxwell Lander, and pet sitting decrepit Pomeranians all over Minneapolis. Aaron,
it's just welcome. The one Pomeranian, actually.
Well, for now. For now.
Pet sitting a decrepit Pomeranian in Minneapolis just didn't have the same...
That's fair.
Like, mouth feel.
Yeah.
Hi. Very good. Hi, Aaron. Welcome. We're so excited to have you here today.
Yeah, this is going to be fun.
This could be really great. Without too much pomp and circumstance, what game have you selected for us to explore?
We are exploring In a Mirror Brightly, which is a game that we just funded on Kickstarter. It's half of a flip book with Max Lander, my RTFM co-host, and it is a game about millenarian resistance and waking up to the world the way you wish it was. Sort of inspired by The Matrix and The Invisibles and what I wish the game Mage The Ascension had been when I first read it in 1990X.
This is great. I mean, you answered. You're already doing so good at being an interview person because you answered all the questions that I would have about it before I even asked them.
I work in marketing, and so I, one, try to keep things really compact, and two, don't actually want to talk to anyone. And so
that's fair.
If you want, I can just go and you guys don't have to do anything.
Before we go,
no, please stay.
We should mention, hey, look, we take money to get sponsored. Today we're actually sponsored. We have a sponsor. Today we're sponsored by If I Were a Lichman, 3 Jewish games by Lucian Kahn. It's a trilogy of funny Jewish role-playing games about creative resistance against authoritarianism. The villains in the stories of our oppressors become the heroes in our play. It's recommended for fans of What We Do in the Shadows, Russian Doll, and Young Frankenstein, and it has a very cool video that I'm just going to play for you real quick. Oh, I have to click the transition button.
If I Were a Lich Man is a trilogy of funny Jewish role-playing games about creative resistance against authoritarianism by Lucian Kahn. Debate fellow liches about strategies for community survival against the murderous lawful good paladins. Join the celebration and discover who's eating all the guests at Ruthie's Bat Mitzvah. And sing some jaunty songs with Grandma about her bootlegging days. But watch out for the coppers. 3 great games. 1 gorgeous package. Back If I Were a
My friend, I think.
Hey, look, we're back. We're back on screen now. There we go. I know how to stream, and I'm very good at it. And we can ignore all the times today I have not been very good at it. Because most of them weren't my fault. But yeah, thanks Hit Point Press for sponsoring us today. Anyway, we can get back into it. This is our first time having a sponsor, and I forgot to mention it up top where I was supposed to. And we're going to pretend I did and keep moving.
I like this. I like this world. Aaron, in this game that you've written, can you imagine things?
Yes. Am I supposed to say more? I
prefer one-word answers, frankly. This really cuts to the heart of it.
This is a wild start.
Sarah, what is this interview we've brought today?
I brought my best energy, and I warned you beforehand. There is an inordinate amount of cold medicine in my system. Mm. No, but legitimately, Aaron, can we talk about your game? Because I really want to, and I would like to get to know you better. So, when playing this fantastic game, where does one begin in their character creation process?
The character creation starts with the second you wake up from the world that you are used to. And that's something, you see in the Matrix when he is made aware of the Matrix. It's something that is in the Invisibles. If you've read the Invisibles, it's written by Grant Morrison and has a ton of different artists on it that I won't list. But it is about realizing that there is a stranger, more dangerous, more magical world around you than you knew beforehand. So the sort of guided character creation starts you with waking up from your previous dismal, boring life. There are rules for rolling for character creation, and there are also some optional rules using a tarot deck that I haven't used before. So this will be a first time, but I think we have some decks ready.
I do have a deck ready. One second. Let me show that I sort of know how to stream. Look, you all can't see it. The people who are, most important people to see it, the ones we're playing with can't see it, but I do have a deck right here.
Yeah.
So we can just, you all can pretend you can see it. And everybody else can actually see it, and it'll be fine.
What deck is that? Who made it?
Oh yeah, it's the Crimson Eye Tarot by Evangeline Gallagher, which I posted on Twitter.
Nice.
But great. Yeah, let's get started.
Yeah, wake up. What were you before? I have this deck of huge cards. This is
snap.
The Alchemical Visions Tarot. For people with old eyes like me. So there is a list of things you could be in your previous life. There are actually 24, and the idea is you can kind of weed 2 out if you're doing the tarot approach, and even spend time assigning which one you feel matches which card. Things like visual artist, amnesiac, future messiah, just the kind of thing, the people you encounter every day in real life.
100%.
Yeah.
So here in Character Study, we typically make an idealized version of our guest in the game, or we kind of explore your own backstory.
Yeah.
So out of these 24 options, which one do you feel like in the previous life best represents you?
Well, the thing is, because we're drawing from tarot, this is obviously instilled with me. I don't have to speak.
The cards will do it for you.
The cards, yeah.
Aaron's hacked interviews. I don't have to say anything ever.
Should we go ahead and draw a card then? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, cool. So our first card here is the Empress, which I can put in the center of the table so it can show up a little better. My table has a lot of dog hair on it, and look, I tried to clean it, and that's not on me. Also, that screen's not live. I'm doing great today.
I'm really proud of you.
I'm doing great. Anyway, our first card's the Empress. It's number 3.
Yeah. It is visual artist. So that's you. I mean, or is it me? Are we saying that's me? Because I have strength, which is student, and I have dropped out of school at least 4 times. So I think,
Yeah.
I like that.
Let's go with you. Let's go.
We can make multiple characters. It's a really easy process.
Yeah.
I love games that you can make characters in really quickly. So that's who we were. Sarah, do you want to roll a d20 and get in on the fun?
Yeah, I do. Heck yeah, here we go. I got a 16.
You were a guru in your previous life.
Okay.
Does that feel like it fits? Is the past speaking through the dice?
I don't think that my dice are divinely in tune with.
That's fair. You got to sleep with them under your pillow more.
Sarah, I feel like you could have been a guru in a past life. I'm going to be honest here. Be honest. I'm going to be so fucking honest right now. I feel like in a past life you might have been a guru.
Of some kind.
Yeah.
So your background that you get here just kind of gives you a broad skill. You kind of just write down student or visual artist, and that skill starts at 30. This game is a roll under. You use a D100. So you'll be trying to get in. So if you ever need to fall back on your backgrounds, you can try to do that. It might not be as useful or as skilled in the strange new world that you're going into, but it's there to remind you of who you were.
I want to stop really quick. You mentioned that you were in school 4 times. Is that correct?
I think I said I dropped out of school 4 times.
That's fair. That's
Maybe
fair.
just 3.
Were you studying the same thing, or did each time you go back, it was like a new interest or a driver, so to speak?
I went to undergrad for. I lived in that town for like 4 years and like dropped out in the middle. Was initially a history major and then like quit, went back, and then quit again and moved away for a few years and worked in a handmade ice cream and confectionery shop, which was a terrible job, but at least I got to eat ice cream. And I went back to school with a new major, finished, and then I went to library school for a master's program and quit that as well.
Nice.
So different things every time.
That's really cool. I like that. I find talking to people about their education journey is really interesting because the drivers are so different for, what makes people go back to school, stick through school, or like just straight up be like, no, it's not for me. And I feel like there's so much to be learned about who people are through that, just because it's so different and unique to everybody.
Yeah, school's weird. I don't have anything else to say on that.
Hey kids, remember, if you take one thing away from this, school's weird.
Sorry.
Just quit. Hit the bricks.
In the chat, Tony just said, Aaron handmade me some ice cream once with just some snow, a rat, and some Four Loko.
This is not true at all.
I want to enter it into the canon real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is true now. You're right.
Yeah.
This is very good. Okay, so we've got our previous life, we've got our background, so to speak.
Yeah.
And we know what this means. What's our next step?
We get 2 abilities. There are 24 total abilities, and there's actually 4 secret abilities. Part of this game is that there are augmented reality portions of the book that Max is making, and so you can like hold your phone up, and it will show you things on the page through your phone that are not actually on the page. So you can actually turn in your kind of secret augmented reality activator at multiple points throughout character creation process to get access. They're like cheat codes. They unlock new things. So there are actually 4 secret backgrounds. There are 4 secret abilities. There's some other stuff spread throughout. Obviously, that doesn't work with tarot cards because the numbers don't match up.
There aren't secret tarot cards.
Right. So that's part of the tarot process is like you narrow it down to the 22 that you really want and assign them. And it's kind of a meditative, if character creation is a game that you can also play on your own, like the solo version of the game, this is kind of the idea of like, this is what I think I might have a chance to be. I'm going to assign them where they mean something. I don't know that everyone will think that's fun, but I do. And it's my book. So
get wrecked.
Yeah. You don't have to buy it. It's my book.
Turns out. But you should. Yeah.
So we will, if you're building your character normally, you roll for an ability, and then you pick one after you've rolled that no one else in your group has. But if you're drawing for them, you just draw for both. Should I get both of mine? What do you think? We're making me, right? I'm in the spotlight here.
We're draw your cards. The fun thing I've learned about tarot is you can interpret however makes the most sense. I love it. This
is the High Priestess, which on my little chart gives me the ESP ability, Plant Thought. So I get the Intimidation skill, which is a skill. It has a number, at 40 right now. And then I can also put a thought in the mind of someone whose face I can see. Once a mission. A lot of these abilities come with a skill and then a thing that you can do once per mission. It's a very mission-based game, sort of like Blades in the Dark. And I guess if this is my real life and if I have imbued myself into these cards, this makes me kind of shitty.
If it makes you feel better, when I heard Plant Thought, I was like, oh, like you can hear the thought of plants.
Plants.
It wasn't till I was like, it's weird to get intimidation for that, but I wasn't going to say anything. And I was like, you could plant a thought in the mind of, oh, okay, that makes more sense.
Fine, I'll change the name. The book's not in print yet. I'll do it.
Plant thoughts.
No. I say keep it.
All right. And then my other one is the Hermit, which on this chart is the violence heading, and the ability is explosions. I gain the demolition skill once per mission. Something of my choice explodes. Explain how I planted the explosives. And I think, like a lot of rural kids, I definitely went through like a fireworks and fire setting phase. I grew up a lot in Wisconsin, where fireworks are really easy to get and are not like illegal in any way. And also, I grew up in the South some in Texas, and of course, nothing is. The government does not tamp down anything there. So,
right,
a lot of bottle rockets, a lot of firecrackers, a lot of experiments with them. Once at a graduation party, I saw someone fire a bottle rocket out of his butt cheeks. He bent over and put it in there, and
that's pretty impressive.
Right, instead of out of a bottle. And then once at a 4th of July party, my drunk friend tried to like aim it at something and stumbled, and it shot and lodged in the washcloths we had stuffed in between our window unit air conditioner, and shot straight in there and exploded and lit the washcloths on fire. So I'm not unfamiliar.
This tracks. I feel like
with explosions.
There's a rite of passage, right? When you grow up in the middle of nowhere and there's very little to do except blow up what's already there, you know?
Yeah. Another fun trick is putting a can of Sprite in a campfire when no one's looking. And then that explodes and everyone gets warm Sprite all over them.
That is very fun. The question I would ask here, though. Oh, go for it, Keegan.
I was going to say, real fast in the chat, there was actually a question. Aaron Bear asked, did you connect the cards with what they draw on purpose, or is this just randomly numerical?
So the idea would be you connect the cards with what you think they represent. I just did this quickly before stream, trusting in the heart of the cards like Yu-Gi-Oh would.
I'm into it.
I think it's great. If you were to like, the cards have something to say, but if like traditionally when you're playing games, or would you say these are skills that you would naturally kind of lean to anyways, or are there others here on this list that you find more interesting, or like you would prefer? You know what I mean? Like, life deals you cards, and you kind of roll with it, but that doesn't mean that you don't think that there are better things.
I did a test run beforehand just to make sure I could like pick a card and look at the right chart and not be delayed and be bad radio. And the thing I got for my first ability in that one was Consume Filth, which is under the magic heading, which is like one of my favorite ones. You can live off of human waste. You never get sick. Once a mission, you can take on a willing person's bad thoughts. They are healed of them. And you gain +10 to a skill check of your choice in the rest of the mission. And so that one felt resonant as well. Just in the sense of like, I do feel like people tell me bad things that I don't even necessarily want them to tell me. And they feel a little better after that. And then I get really mad and I get +10 to a skill check of my choice in the rest of the day.
You're just really good at something else. You just put all that into a separate task.
I do eat a lot of garbage as well. And so that part is
I am, in fact, half raccoon. It's fine.
So yeah, that was one, you know, I was like, ooh, maybe this one will come up. And then I did some shuffling and it didn't, but that's fine.
That is a wonderful move. And I think from a role-playing perspective couldn't be just wild, right? Because the way that you perceive that or take that away can open that up in a really delightfully weird kind of way, which is how I would explain any Aaron King game that I've ever encountered. Delightfully weird.
To me, this one is like my most straightforward game, and I was like showing some of the character creation rules around, and John Geary, who's a game designer who wrote Sledgehammer, which is a big inspiration for this game and for like my game writing, in particular was like, "Oh, congratulations! You always write such personal games." And I was like, "No, this is the universal one. This is my game about cool fighting stuff." But I guess also it bears my stamp, my filth eating stamp.
Your emotional dung eater.
It's true.
This is very good. Keegan, did you wanna pull for your
Yes,
for your dude?
I've been doing it off camera for the last minute just so I would have them ready to go. But I pulled a number of cards, and I got Sex Ritual, which I'm going to go down to. Gain the sex skill. Once per mission, when you have time to get yourself and or others off, choose one of the following effects. Change the weather, attract poltergeist activity, become a dangerous monster, agitate local wildlife, or save the faltering career of an unknown artist. Everyone involved in the ritual must understand the stakes and give full consent. The more people who enjoy themselves, the more powerful the effect. So now I have a sex skill of 40 and Sex Ritual. And then the other thing I rolled was animal handling.
Amazing.
Which is under magic. So I gain the animal handling skill. I can speak to animals, but as autonomous beings, they may not always tell me what I want to hear. I can flawlessly recreate animal sounds.
And those are both true for you.
Yeah.
In your real
100%.
Yeah. It's not even a question. I speak to animals regularly.
Yeah. You give dogs haircuts and you bone down. Those are two things we know about you.
I'm glad that's my mark.
This is your brand. Okay, I rolled really quick and I got the machines category with jury rig. So I gain the mechanics skill. Once per mission, you can completely break a machine or build one from scratch. Both take time, and building a machine requires a backpack full of resources, even if they don't necessarily match the machine you're trying to build. And then the other one was from the ESP category, and it was the psychometry. Gain either history or mechanics. When you touch an object, you can choose to learn who last touched it, along with one of the following: how they used it, how they were feeling, what they were thinking, their sensory perceptions at the moment when they touched it, their distance from you now, and the direction they're in. And I can do that once per mission to learn all of the above, which is super cool.
It's one of my favorite weird superpowers that people have in comics that never really get used.
Mm-hmm.
But they're so interesting.
The sense of the idea that items hold energy, or they perceive
have a memory somehow.
Mm-hmm, yeah. I think that's so cool. And as a highly nostalgic person who has bawled her eyes out anytime she's had to move from an apartment and has walked from room to room, just being like, remember when I was so happy in this room? This speaks to me.
Remember when my friend shot a bottle rocket into this air conditioner?
Out of his ass? Yeah. I really thought we were getting pranked for a second. You were just going to give us a plot line from Jackass and see if any of us knew it. And I was like, I don't know, the washcloths are so weird and specific.
Mm-hmm.
That
happened.
That's what you do. You stuff the washcloths in to insulate, because the window unit doesn't fit in the window. Yeah,
it just felt like if it was on Jackass, they would have just got a fitting AC for it. You know what I mean? They do have an MTV sponsor.
Right, yeah. right.
Listen, you have a sponsor now, and all of a sudden you know about people having sponsors.
I wish.
Oh.
I wish.
All right, so we filled out our different abilities, which are all 100% actual, factual, real about
life,
us.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I know everything there is to know about any machine that was ever made, ever. So we move to experience, correct?
Yeah. So there's a little element of not quite push your luck, but your character, in addition to having these skills, has commitment. And that is the stat that represents your health, your level of stress and optimism. It being it's the commitment to the cause. You are woken up into this life where you're expected to kind of fight the baddies and fight for the underrepresented and stuff. But that's exhausting. As we've all learned in the past 7 years, if not before, it can be so tiring to stand up for what you believe in. And so this commitment goes down throughout the game. And once it hits 0, depending on what made it hit 0, you might be dead. You might just drop out of the cause never to be seen again, returning to your old life, or you might switch sides. But we need to know about commitment, because right now we're going to do experience. Like, even though we're freshly awoken, we have gotten some training or spent some time with the cause, and you can get one for free, and then you can get more, but it reduces your commitment because you've been out there training and doing the work already. So it's one way to kind of get more skills or contacts or abilities, but get it starting with a more powerful character means you won't be playing as long. This I have not figured out how to tie to tarot yet, because again, the numbers are a little off. So we're just going to go back to rolling dice. So this is my experience in the world. I got a 4, which is the double agent heading. And I got a 1. I get a skill of my choice: deception, entomology, interrogation, intimidation, guns, punishment, or media. I mean, like I said at the start of the interview, I worked in marketing for years, and so I think that's my double agent. I was a bad guy. I worked for a marketing firm, and so I have I get the skill media, and so I know how to break some news, write some newsletters, and tweet. I'm really good at tweeting.
I can confirm. Aaron only tweets bangers. Every time I load up Twitter, I'm like, holy shit, they're at it again. Look at this absolute unit of a tweet. Should never even tweet. It's over. It's done.
Yeah.
But I do want to ask, so you worked in marketing. Do you find that influences the way that you approach game design at all? Like, when you're like, do you start a game thinking like, how am I going to market this? Or are you able to kind of separate the two?
I try never to think about that ever again, but it does. It taught me how to write. I would hope, this might sound like a brag, and I'm sure you can find an example where it's untrue, but it taught me to write clearly and using as few words as possible, which I think is really valuable in game design, which is always part technical writing, like you're trying to explain someone to something. And also, like, if you're printing a book, you're maybe trying to save space to make printing cheaper, or keep things all on one page, or lay it out in a way that's easy to kind of take in at a glance. And it also taught me to write on a deadline. Growing up, I was so bad at finishing things. It's part of why I quit school so often. I hated doing homework. I could never finish anything on time until I treated it as a job, because internalized capitalism sucks. But I at least was like, I'm getting paid for this. I know when it's due. I hate this company. I can just do it and not care about it. So it taught me how to get things done on time, and it taught me to not be very precious about what I was doing, and be able to take edits and stuff and not feel super invested in, oh, this isn't quite right. That hurts me because I am that kind of thing. Right. So useful skills, absolutely. I don't ever want to work for like a website firm again, but
that's fair. That's absolutely fair.
Yeah.
It's definitely, I did journalism for a long time, and I find that it's kind of the same thing, right? Where it impacts the way that you write and the way that you think about writing. And for me personally, it almost got in the way of creative writing, because I stopped being able to just and everything had to be kind of, as you put it, those short, little things of you need the facts, you need the details, you need them up front.
Yeah.
And it definitely influenced that.
Do either of you want to roll some background stuff?
I did mine.
Sorry.
Keegan.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have yours?
I also have mine. I rolled and I got field training. So I gained a skill of my choice between guns, hand-to-hand, demolitions, driving, stealth, or athletics. I obviously chose hand-to-hand. Because if we're building some terrible version of me, I have been too many fist fights.
I feel like there was one day in Discord somewhere you're like, oh, it sucks. I had to punch somebody today.
I had to knock a man out on the metro because it was not fun. But yeah, no. If we're building me, hand to hand is unfortunately the correct skill to have.
Yeah, and we both got get a skill of your choice, but under these headings, there's also like increase a skill. Sometimes you might get a contact, like someone you know that can help you out. And sometimes you almost get like a new power, a new ability, like a once permission thing you can do or something like that. So there's a lot. There's a lot of options. And then you can, like I said, roll multiple times if you want. I'm old. I feel like I might need to roll again just because I'm old.
Heck yeah, do it.
And just because that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
I got a 3 research, and I got a 4. I get a under research. I know a fellow researcher who can give me like kind of an effective skill in something strange and weird. And then there's a whole table of contacts. So my researcher that I know is actually under the romance heading. So there's some questions under there to answer as well.
Ooh.
Yeah, but I don't actually know like how to kiss or anything, so that part is not true for my real life. I mean, I know what it looks like. I've seen it in movies. I'm not a weirdo.
Not till you're 40.
Right. When I turn 40, then I'm allowing myself just
this
one.
happens every time. Anytime that I'm like hanging out with Aaron, they say the most buck wild shit in the most like plainest day. Like, yeah, this is the thing, and just throws it out there, and every time it wrecks me. And this is why Aaron's my favorite. It's just the best. Huh. Okay. Mine was not exciting in any way.
Aaron, it's bad. I wasn't excited. Damn, Sarah.
You wrote it back. That's not true. Just in comparison to you guys, I got 2, which was field training, and I rolled a 3. Your training never ends. Once permission, when you can explain how your training prepared you for something, and if you can offer a parable or lesson, you or an ally can re-roll.
I mean, that's pretty cool.
It's actually really
That's
cool.
really nice.
It's really cool. I like
and
it a
you
lot.
You get to spout parables and lessons.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sarah, give us a parable or lesson right now on the spot.
Sometimes you can think that you're really prepared for a stream. You can check all the boxes.
Wow.
You can go through all the process, and like it still doesn't work out. But here's the thing. Here's the takeaway. You learned something, and you learned that it's probably going to be okay because it's just your friends having a good time making weird little dudes. And so maybe don't take it so serious.
Wow, that felt like it was at me. Let's keep going.
I mean, that's it. You have your character now. You have a few skills.
That's fantastic.
You have some cool powers, hopefully. And we are, a group together now. To punch and explode the bad guys. Like I said, the game is a D100 roll under. If you succeed at a roll, that first number, or you choose which number. This is so hard to do without it's so easy to just show someone. So a D100 is 2 10-sided dice, and you choose one of those 10-sided dice, and that's the damage you deal if you succeed, or it's the damage you take to your commitment if you fail a roll. And then the other die you assign to a Fallout table, which is a piece of gaming technology from Cyber Metal 2012 by Adam Vass. And that kind of dictates your narrative position going forward. Like, are you on top of things? Are things about to get worse? Are things getting strange? Do you look beautiful doing whatever you're doing? Things like that. And so there is this kind of tension between which one do I want to assign as my damage and which one do I want to assign to narrative stuff going forward. That's the game. The rest of the book is a couple sample adventures and some GM advice and stuff for creating missions and creating opposition. There's stuff for when you finish a mission, you get these improvements. It's, I hope, a simple game that is still fun.
Yeah. You mentioned before, this was your fight the monsters, do the mission, rough and rowdy game.
Right.
What rough and rowdy? Why?
I wish I had named it that.
My question is, like, was your intent to kind of stretch as a game designer? Did you just feel like this is something you want to do? Why this kind of game?
So I started writing this after reading Cyber Metal, which is a really cool game that I would recommend everyone check out. WorldChamp.io,
Right there.
I think. You just search World Champ Game Co. or Adam Vass. And I think something that a lot of game designers do is if they read something that's inspiring, they kind of want to play with it. They want to get their hands, in the engine or whatever, in the guts of the car, and just play around with it. And so I think that's always just like a nice sign of respect. Like, hey, read your thing, immediately wanted to make something. And this started as that. Cyber Metal is a mechanically pretty simple game. There's a lot of cool veneer to it. Facade, demeanor, what's a non-bad word for that? Like, the aesthetic is great. It's this simple rule system hung with this like scratchy personal cool art. We did a whole RTFM episode about it that you can go listen to so that I don't have to repeat myself. But I also I like really simple games. I like playing all sorts of games, and so I like a really narrative heavy game where you're working through an arc in a playbook, like a PBTA game. I like a scene setting game as well that's like almost no mechanics. And I also like really simple, like OSR style. Here are a few tools, ill-defined. Players do what you will with them. Like fast resolution stuff as well. And so, I guess to me it's sort of like eating. Like I really like a pork chop, but I don't just only want pork chops. Or if I do, I will soon hate pork chops. Right. I just like to use all these tools that we have. We are living in a golden age of game design. There are so many cool games out there and so many fun ways to play that people are documenting. Like, I want a little bit of salad. I want to make sure I get some fruits, all that stuff. I need some nice breads. And so I've never felt like I need to belong to a certain camp of game design or defend a certain camp as the best way or the only way to be. It's play. I like having a whole toy box, and sometimes a He-Man can fight a G.I. Joe even if they're different sizes or don't quite fit together. But then sometimes you do want to get all your micro machines set up and looking nice together, and that's fine too. So yeah, I think, well, and like I said, I set out to make this game that's like replicating known works of fiction, and instead got called out as like, this is another deeply personal game in your voice, isn't it? And I guess I can't escape doing that anymore.
There was a question in the chat real fast. What's your favorite roll table in the game, and or is there a roll table you didn't get to talk about yet?
The baddies are all pretty fun. There are a few different headings of baddies that start at the bottom, everyday shitheads, and that's like soldiers and cops and cult followers and stuff, up through literal monsters, which are like not the monsters you kiss or convert to your side. Like, these are the actual people, and often they are just humans, but they're monstrous. And each of those have little alterations to the Fallout table, little things that they do where if you assign a high number to your Fallout and things are getting worse, ways that these people up the ante. Or sometimes the other way, if you assign a great result to your Fallout, an everyday shithead might beg for their life or run away, just kind of ways to spice up that narrative stuff. But if things are getting worse, they might threaten a bystander. And the upper echelons of the baddies, the chief executive officers, and the corrupt betrayers, the people that have like used to be on your side and have turned, their abilities are, I guess, meta. Like, I hate saying that. But like a chief executive officer, if you have the worst Fallout in battle with one of them, they will edit your character sheet until the end of the mission. So, GM go wild with that. And the betrayers will become a player character. And so you become this baddie and get your sheet taken away until the end of the mission. And part of that is like, in the spirit of the Invisibles, which is like a very meta-textual comic that there's this object called the Hand of Glory throughout the comic that the author says is like a cursor, and so you can like push it and affect the story. So just the idea of like we are messing with the form of this game in ways that are interesting in a mechanical and object sense as well.
This is very cool.
Was that the answer? Was that the question?
I think so.
All right.
Yes, that was the question. Sorry, I had clicked mute for a second.
So I'm assuming you've play tested this, yes, Aaron?
Wow, is that a call out, Sarah?
You haven't? That's amazing. No, this makes me very happy.
Max is doing some super heavy playtesting. I have played a bunch of Cyber Metal and played a bunch, like, this isn't a new system, and so I don't feel the need to. The mechanics aren't going to break. Other people have play tested it. I write a lot of PBTA stuff too, and to me, the beauty of using a framework like that is that
you don't have to go through. Right. It's tested and tried in other places. Like it's been vetted. You're good. The only reason I asked was like to see some of this like in action. And granted, it's just wrapped up on Kickstarter. It was funded through Sex Magic, which is very cool. But the question I had was, it's talking about some of those like deeper, more personal connections, like in a game. I'm a role player, but like throw me at a game that's like literally just supposed to be about punching, and I'm like, yeah, but what if we felt about it though?
Yeah.
And so like I'm always really curious to see what kinds of moments come from these games. You know what I mean? Where you have and like particularly where you're taking inspiration from things like The Matrix, right? Of people fighting systems of oppression to like be authentically themselves based on characteristics from a table and all of that. Like I feel like there's a lot of opportunity in here to get really deep with some of this. And like, crap, my character sheet's been edited by the system itself, so to speak. Like I am a different person now. That can get real heavy really quick. So I was curious to see if like some of those moments had played out.
Yeah, so I guess to me too, part of it is like I was saying with like the different camps, like there are lots of games out there that are really good at mechanizing like emotional response or setting people up to feel things. And then there are games that are more about like emergent feelings. Like it's not going to direct you how to feel, but you might feel something because of what happened. And there are people out there that are like, this one is better. No, this one is better. I like them both. I love to play both. I've had great experiences with both. And so to me, this game is very much like the latter example of like feelings will likely emerge from this just because it's a role-playing game and bleed is real usually.
Yeah.
If you are willing to kind of open yourself up to feeling something. And so again, with the cooking metaphor, it's like, here's a bunch of ingredients. I might have some guidance for recipes, but I'm not going to tell you what you're trying to make. You can make something good that you like, or you might make something really weird and gross, which is still like an experience, right?
Right.
Things involved. But I'm not necessarily worried about helping someone plot an arc of play with this game.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Keegan, I know we've been having questions come in from chat. Do we have any others?
I'll look through them again. I don't believe so.
I know Tony had a question about Aaron's opinion about lasagna and whether or not it was a soup or a sandwich, which feels relevant.
Ask Aaron if it's a soup, a salad, or a sandwich was what Aaron
given the cooking metaphors.
Yeah.
With all of these things, what is this? What is this category? The who's better, Superman or Batman? I am Alexander the Great with them, and I Gordian not. Like I refuse. I do not follow these rules. This is how I stay sane on the internet. But I actually just read this thing out loud for the RTFM that's coming out tomorrow. So no one's heard it. So I'm going to read it. It's my favorite internet writing. One of my two favorite internet writings. It's from an essay called No by Ann Boyer. It is published on the Poetry Foundation. You can find it. History is full of people who just didn't. They said no thank you, turned away, ran away to the desert, stood on the street in rags, lived in barrels, burned down their houses, walked barefoot through town, killed the rapists, pushed away dinner, meditated into the light. Even babies refuse, and the elderly too. All types of animals refuse. So that's your answer, Tony.
Here's what I love about all of that. First of all, yes, but Keegan, that's literally what I was going to say.
That lasagna's a cake?
It's none of that lasagna's cake.
I mean, lasagna is lasagna, and I celebrate it, and I hate it. I hate baked pasta dishes, and so lasagna is itself, and it's beautiful, and I despise it.
We should talk about that because I also hate baked pasta dishes.
Oh, you're wrong. You're not wrong. You can have your opinions. But
there's this long-running joke in my house that when my husband and I were like first dating, I had mentioned to him that my mom like made a lot of lasagna, but I was being me, so I said, "Yeah, all my mom ever makes is lasagna." Or is casserole. I'm sorry.
There we go.
And now every time she makes a casserole, she's like, "I make other food, you know." Like, you need to calm down. It's not that big of a deal.
It's deeply important. I'll go for it.
That's all I got.
That's all she wrote.
I think that's fair and valid.
Yeah.
So here's my question. We've been streaming close-ish to an hour. Do we want to take a quick break? We can have chat come in with some more questions. I have some more questions that are a little bit more like broader outside of the system. We can come back, we can hang out, and then go from there. How's that sound?
Great.
Sounds good.
I'm gonna
to me.
get another pineapple bubble water.
Great.
Oh yeah, pineapple bubble water.
I'm gonna make everybody watch this Lickman video again. And
yeah, because we're sponsored.
Lichman, I'm sorry. My mouth is like very dry.
Rich man. Oh, get some pineapple bubbly water.
Yeah. Treat yourself.
Okay, cool. We'll be right back.
I'm gonna go to the bathroom.
If I Were a Lich Man is a trilogy of funny Jewish role-playing games about creative resistance against authoritarianism by Lucian Khan. Debate fellow liches about strategies for community survival against the murderous lawful good paladins. Join the celebration and discover who's eating all the guests at Ruthie's Bat Mitzvah. And sing some jaunty songs with Grandma about her bootlegging days. But watch out for the coppers. 3 great games, 1 gorgeous package. Back if I were a lich.
Look at that. I'm back. And now you're all back.
Yay! I love being back. I would much rather be back than not. Just saying.
Sarah, that was
it's
profound.
My opinion.
Thank you.
Yeah.
we can fight about it, but my thoughts aren't going to change on it. Welcome back to Character Study. In case anybody joined us while we were gone, we're joined by the incredible Aaron King, which has been just an absolutely wonderful romp through with just a whole bunch of stuff, really. Keegan already showed that we were sponsored, so I feel like we've checked off all of our boxes there. As a reminder to chat, we are taking questions, so feel free if you have anything that you need to ask Aaron. They are legally bound to answer all questions with 100% honesty and cannot refuse.
Is that how this works?
That's how interviews work.
Sarah,
Just
you're
kidding.
on one today.
Listen, the sick in me is real, and so the filter, the veil is thin between like bullshit and reasonable.
Between life and death.
I see a light, but I'm pretty sure it's just this really bright one that's blaring at me. So we've talked through the game, we've made our characters, but Aaron, I'd just like to spend some time getting to know you and asking you some questions, if you don't mind. And the first one that I'm really excited to talk to you about is tropes, right? Character tropes or game tropes. And which ones do you really enjoy seeing in gameplay? Which ones are you kind of like, I'm over it? What are the ones that you find yourself kind of going back to despite system and different characters that you keep kind of picking up?
I mean, my GMing style is very, we were talking about emergent versus something more structured or planned, and I do love both. I use both, but I am always just more entertained by like emergent stuff. Like I put the stuff out there and then someone comes along and messes with it. I thought about it too as like accretionary, like if something with gravity passes through a bunch of little particles, the particles like start to spin around this and like accrete into something. So I'm usually it means like it's part of why I never really stream games is because my games are very slow starts, like a pot boiler kind of. It takes a while. I want to put weird things out there and see what people want to pick up and touch, and then bring those things together and bring those things back. And so like my biggest joy in running a game is like seeing people get interested in what I'm putting down. So sorry to like dodge your question.
No, you're okay. I mean, that's valid.
I have recently been coming back to weird horse stuff as a theme, a trope.
Interesting.
Is weird horse stuff a trope? Is it on tvtropes.com?
I bet it is.
It could be.
Horses are weird.
Yeah.
I love to have games with weird horses in them.
Define weird horses.
Well, picture a horse. Now,
I'm doing it right now.
I'll fuck it up a little bit. No, I like sinister horses. I like horses that can talk. I like horses that have like bug carapaces or secret cockroach wings, or mandibles hidden inside them. Yeah. Dungeon 23 is still ongoing, right? Where people are doing a dungeon room a day, and I've been writing a little Powered by the Apocalypse move every day, and this month has been all about horses for me. And so there's a horse playbook. You can play a horse, and as you go through it, you will unlock all the typical horse abilities, like having a carapace and mandibles, or having a hypnotic gaze, or being part of a horse hive mind where you're like 3 horses actually, up until you can turn into a horse-shaped storm cloud that passes across the world and weeps rain and breathes lightning down on people. So
here's the thing about everything that you're saying.
Yeah.
I grew up with horses, but
yeah, so you're very familiar with all of
with the
40% of what you're 40% of what you're saying, I would believe as like horse facts, like 100%. Horses are weird, anyways, and I don't trust them. I don't trust them. So all of this, like, yes, it would finally explain that like sinister feeling that I get around them when they're just like, "Hey, I might fuck you up right now."
Yeah.
I might read your thoughts and turn them into snow. Like, you don't know. And I'm like, shit, you right.
You all can't see it right now, but I am on the TV Tropes page for Horse of a Different Color, which is all of the things in the trope of things that aren't horses that are being treated as horses. So, flightless birds, predatory animals, other / multiple. I'm not clicking into any of these to find out what they are because I'm not brave enough to do that live. But there is a TV Tropes page for it, is what we're getting to.
Right.
But those are things that are not horses that are treated as horses. I'm talking strictly a horse is a horse, of course.
Aaron was very clear that it wasn't just weird things that you can use as mounts stuff.
But I do also like that. In Patchwork World, a previous game of mine, there is a move called horse with quotation marks, and it symbolizes just like this animal companion of yours that you ride around, and you can level it up, and like eventually it can fly like a Pegasus or whatever. But it is exactly that, of like, it doesn't have to be a horse. It can be a battle emu. It can be a dinosaur, whatever you want.
So
there is a question in chat right now. How does this relate to the leak writers in Patchwork World?
Right. Well, a leek is a vegetable. A horse is part vegetable, animal, part mineral.
Okay.
It exudes the carapace like the way an oyster produces a pearl. And so I mean, I like riding weird things around. I've ridden horses. I fell off of a horse once because I was trying to play an accordion while riding a horse. And
This is very good.
yeah, vehicles are cool and they're not done well in a lot of games. And so any chance I have to be like, yes, ride on. The road is open and wide before us. I try to take that opportunity. So you can ride a flying leak in Patrick World. It's very big. That's actually inspired by, oh, can I reach it? I'm not going to try to reach it. There's a book called Night Battles by Carlo Ginzburg, which is about this historically documented group of medieval, they're originally called the Benandanti, the Good Walkers, and they are like sort of mixed between like midwives and medicine people, but also witches. And at night, their spirits would leave their body and like ride around on plants to defend their crops from the Benandanti from other villages who had come to trample their crops. So they would spend all night doing spirit battle, riding leaks and things, and then come back into the bodies and then go about their business during the daytime.
I kind of love the visual. Like, man, like, you okay? You seem like you're not doing. Yeah, it's just.
Yeah,
There's
sorry.
a lot of spiritual battles last night, and my leak just couldn't get it together, man. Like, it just.
My astral form turned into a weird raccoon, and I was fighting this guy from the other village who I actually really like, but he was trying to trample our barley crops. So I had to show him what's what. I had to do a little Keegan hand-to-hand style out in the fields and the furrows.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Oh man.
I do feel like it's worth mentioning in the chat, Snackswell. I'm semi-convinced that 50 to 90% of what Aaron claims has happened in their life is fake. Do you have anything to say about that?
I think I will admit at this point that I have done a kiss, and so that was fake.
Shit.
But the falling off of a horse playing an accordion was real. I was dating so I went to college at a place, they had a horse barn, and one appeal of the college is that people could bring their horse to college, and the horses would stay in this horse barn, and you would be part of the saddle club who would be responsible for like upkeep of the barn and like, you know, feeding and helping the people get the food and stuff. So I was dating someone that had a horse, and we would go during breaks, other people would be gone, and so we would go in and bring the horses in from, there were a couple different fields. And so I was 21 or 22, and I was drunk on half a bottle of wine, and I was confident that I could ride this horse and play a song on the accordion while we took it back from the field. And I fell very slowly off. I just kind of rotated around it and then dropped, and then the horse just stopped and ate some grass. So it was fine. It wasn't as cool as it sounds.
It wasn't like an action sequence of sorts.
It was.
Good job, Max. You ruined my mental image of this. Aaron shirtless astride the back of a horse, standing on 2 feet.
You need a shirt because the accordion straps can really bite into you if you don't have
just
one
really
on.
get at you.
This
is very good.
Yeah, so I think most of what I say is true, except for the kissing part.
Wow, that was just a little fib, just
right.
a little. It's a teeny tiny one. We were just using our imaginations for a little bit.
Not a lot of people know about accordion carapaces and how they also bite. What is the streamer doing, Sarah?
I think it's really good, honestly. One of the things I just like, maybe we can just have a discussion on, because Aaron did a very good job of sidestepping my question, but introduced a much more interesting concept of, and I would say like putting it in a sentence like play to find out. The idea of that you're never really, it's not that you're ever really saying anything when you're running a game so much as you're just putting weird information and seeing what happens and what comes from that. Like, I guess the question I would have is, why it be so hard for people to design games to let you do that? I think sometimes, you know,
for emergence or for
yeah. Like, what do you think are the hallmarks of that kind?
Yeah,
that's something that encourages that, because I've definitely played games where they're like, no, this, and again, there's no moral statement being made here, but writing a game that encourages emergent themes versus this is what you're doing, what's the difference between them stylistically?
I think to me, so there are probably differences in ideal players and GMs of those games, and then maybe rules differences as well. Rules differences, I think the book has to be like really usable at the table, because you're probably going to be flipping around, because it's like emergent, you're improvising a lot of it. And so the book should give you tools to help you do that. And it should be really easy to find those tools. Like if it's double column, just solid text all through, it's going to be so hard to remember what that page you're looking for looks like. Like big clear tables help. Lying flat on the table helps. Like a lot of books will not do that. Clear headings, stuff like that. And like evocative text as well, like things that help the GM and the players, if you end up reading this text out loud, like imagine something instead of just kind of describing something in plain language, like something that gives you enough to get you excited but leaves a lot of room for you to imagine and like make that thing yours. I find really helpful to me. And then with like play groups, like a willingness to improvise and a willingness to think on your feet and a willingness to like be patient. If you do something unexpected and someone has to think for a second about like, oh, I had no idea you would do that. I love it. I want to go with it. I do need a second to like figure that out. Can be hard to say because you're kind of admitting like, oh, I don't know something. And that's tough for certain people. And then like player agency as well is really important. I've been in a lot of games where players don't feel like they're empowered to do something. And I've played a lot of games where I don't necessarily want to have agency. Like I just kind of want to hear a funny story and chime in when I'm ready. Again, like that is perfectly fine. I have run games like that. I've played games like that. I love it. If you give me kind of a story arc and let me flavor it, that's really fun as well. But it does take more energy to kind of think about like, who is my character? What do they want? How can I pursue that? Given that this is kind of a big sandbox thing. I always kind of think about it like Skyrim, the video game that I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with. Like you can go through the stories of Skyrim and they will say, okay, go do this now. Here's a pointer and listen to our dialogue and then go do this and, you know, so on and so forth. Or you can just like run around and like punch a guard and see what happens. And a lot of the joy that comes in that mode of play is when things go wrong, like when there are bugs. I was playing a game once and the guard just like his face rotated slowly along this axis. And it was just like, that is the joy for me. I don't care about reaching the end of a quest and getting a reward. I love finding, you know, like, oh, I've triggered this random encounter and then this other strange random encounter comes up, or I'm in the middle of the battle and this peasant comes up and interrupts me and is yelling some strange thing that doesn't at all jive with what's going on this side. And like, what do I make of that? What a strange, I could not engineer that if I tried. And so that is a different mode of playing Skyrim. And they're both equally good and real. Sometimes I want one, sometimes I want the other.
With that, like Aaron as they are now and Aaron when they began writing games, if you could give like a piece of advice to little new game designer Aaron, what would it be? Like, would it be something along those lines?
I don't know. I think a lot of my early game design was like 5e adjacent D&D stuff. I wish I had spent less time doing that, but also like I learned so much and met some cool people doing that. I think my advice would just not be linked to game design. I think it would just be, you know, invest early in Bitcoin and then sell it all off before people realizes it sucks ass and is really bad for everyone, and then use that money for good. No, that's another joke.
That is
like
good
the
advice,
kiss,
though.
like the kissing one, right? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, my friend Mason, who might still be in the chat, has told me this parable of like a potato plant. Like you leave a potato in your cellar and it blooms and it's crawling up the wall, the vine, the plant, toward sunlight, and eventually it reaches the sun and it sprouts into this plant, and you look back and you don't go like, oh, this potato plant took a really fucked up unoptimized routes along the wall. It could have gone in a straight line instead of this weird winding thing. You just go, oh, look at this cool potato plant. Like those routes, that path, missteps and all, once you arrive at a place that feels good, that stuff is less important. I also am like such a depressive that if I worry about something I've done wrong or would change, I would fall into a deep depression and never come out of it. So again, I will sidestep your question and say no.
Yeah, so bad question, Sarah.
Try again.
No, more like you have correctly identified my weakness, and I refuse to be thrown in that well.
That's fair. I'm not about to push anybody into any pits of despair. That's not my jam. That's not my vibe. No. But I think I love that Keegan mentioned a rare two-parable stream. I love that idea of like having a thing and being like, wow, this is cool, is really the response that folks have, not necessarily like, wow, like what a dumb plant doing dumb plant stuff. Like, and if people do point that out, those people suck. Frankly, the worst.
They get blocked, they get muted, they get ghosted.
For real. This is very good. I think obviously we're character study. So we talk a lot about characters. What are some of your favorite characters from media?
Whoa.
What a big, wide question.
It is.
Wide.
Aaron,
sidestep it, Aaron. I dare you.
Media you've ever interacted with.
I'm not gonna sidestep it.
I'm just teasing.
Can I reach a book now?
If we need some guardrails, we can say like top 3.
You're such a coward. Leave it big. I'm just...
Oh no. I think my headphones are in the wrong ear. But I got this book. This is a book by Louise Erdrich called The Last Report on the Miracle at Little No Horse. And her books are amazing. They're all about the same group of characters, like generations of different families set in Minnesota and the Dakotas. She's a Native American writer. Oftentimes she's focusing on Native American characters, but not always, because she does just end up building these different towns and communities in really cool ways. So in some of her previous books, like Tracks, which is amazing, and if you're interested in getting started in her stuff, Tracks is a great place to start. But her earlier books introduced this father, this Christian, priest named Father Damien, who is, as a priest in a book about Native American struggles, is initially kind of like, oh, this is a bad guy. But he does end up being surprisingly helpful and like makes friends with a lot of these families, which would normally be maybe a bad trope, but this is a Native American woman writing about it. And in this book, you find out that Father Damien is actually a woman who escaped an abusive situation and like found these priest robes and put them on because she had no other clothes and it was getting cold, and kind of realized that she could step into this priest's place, the clothes she got off of a dead body, and then just live the rest of her life as this priest in this community. And then it all of a sudden makes a lot more sense why this priest is being so nice to everyone and actually trying to help them, because she is sort of untainted by the priestly mission. And it just kind of goes into her life before she found that stuff, and the ways that she like holds on to that womanhood and treasures it, and the ways that she abandons it and enjoys not having to deal with it. And it's such a cool, intricate character. And you can study her in this book, and you can study Father Damien in some of the other books, and you can imagine them as different characters because they are different self-contained books, or you can try to find subtext. I think that character is great. One of my other favorite books is called Mason and Dixon by Thomas Pynchon, who wrote Inherent Vice, which is a movie now, which I like. But Mason and Dixon is about Mason and Dixon, who made the Mason-Dixon line across America. And he writes about them as these kind of odd couple, like one's manic, one's depressive. One of them is just like constantly chugging ketchup all the time because it's like a new cool sauce in this era. So it's like semi-historical, but also very strange. And those two together are amazing to me as well. the ways they butt heads, the way there's like, will they, won't they, some sort of homoeroticism. It's a great book because it's just about these two guys tracking stars and talking about fate and hope and sadness.
I feel like hope is one of those things, and I think it falls into TTRPGs a lot too, right? Like the concept of hope and how having that, like just the teeniest little bit built into your games can be so meaningful in such a frustrating kind of way. Because like sometimes you just want to be big emo girl sad, and then you read this thing and it's like, but there's always hope, and you go, no. I guess.
Again, like as a depressive, just part of my coping mechanism is like I can't handle like the purely sad stuff, whether it's a game or a movie or a book, just because I am already purely sad and I need other inputs. And so, but I think you're right in that, like, even in a small amount, it can become meaningful in like an unweighted way. Like, a lot of sadness with a little hope can feel like more hope than an even mix or something.
The way that it immediately shifts tone just by being present, like it completely different vibe. And it's something that like I've had to be okay with, if that makes sense, because a little bit there is that like that you don't want it to be that simple, I guess, is the best way I can describe it. Like, but no, really, truly, like you can have these really dark, tragic themes and then just a teeny tiny bit of hope, and all of a sudden you've got like this epic adventure of like grand scale.
Yeah, I think there's also something to be said too about like the fantasy of feeling sad. Like so often we're confronting problems in the real world and hearing people say like, it's not actually a problem. You shouldn't feel sad. You shouldn't feel mad about this stuff. And so I don't think it's bad to say like, I want to play in this game that centers my kind of negative emotions and people react to them. Because sometimes in life, you wish people would center your negative emotions and react appropriately to them. So I get that. Again, I'm not saying one is better than the other.
No, this is just one facet of the human experience that is experienced by some humans. That's it. That's all.
That's the show, folks.
That feels like the show.
I feel like that's it. Yeah, 100%. Aaron, thank you so much for coming on here and talking about weird horse stuff, imagination, and feelings. I really liked it. I had a wonderful time.
That was a good time.
Before we go, can you tell the people best way they can find you, support you, and anything exciting you have coming up?
Yeah, I am at Aaron MF King on Twitter. I have been posting a lot more to Tumblr as Twitter falls apart. aaronsrpgs.tumblr.com. I post a lot of these move a day things there, so you can read about the horse translator and the horse playbook there. I have a game. I had released a game called Speedrune that I really liked, and I'm doing a revised edition soon with some really cool art by a cartoonist I really like, who I'm not going to name yet just because I haven't paid him and I just want to make sure it's actually in there. But I'm not trying to avoid naming the artist. I just, it should all work out, but what if it doesn't? Anyway, look for that revised edition of Speedrune coming soon.
Awesome. Yeah. Keegan, do we have any announcements before we head out into the unknown?
We do. Okay, cool. We will be I will be back, I guess, without you on March 4th. We're doing Viva La Queer Bar, which is on Kickstarter, and then on the 5th and 12th we have a special 2-part Space Fucked series, which I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, it should be really great. Again, huge thanks, Aaron. It's always wonderful to see your face and get to chat with you for a little bit. And I think with that, we'll tell everybody goodbye, good luck, and we hope you enjoy your pizza.
Bye, everyone.
If I Were a Lich Man is a trilogy of funny Jewish role-playing games about creative resistance against authoritarianism by Lucian Khan. Debate fellow liches about strategies for community survival against the murderous lawful good paladins. Join the celebration and discover who's eating all the guests at Ruthie's Bat Mitzvah. And sing some jaunty songs with Grandma about her bootlegging days. But watch out for the coppers. 3 great games, 1 gorgeous package. Back If I Were a Lich Man today on Kickstarter.